This week's episode of our show has been sponsored by our friends at Ghostfire Games, who have just launched their new Kickstarter, The Seeker's Guide to Twisted Taverns, which is live now on Kickstarter till March 6th.
This is being developed by Logan at Runesmith, and he is creating 14 entirely unique tavern locations for you to explore, filled with all sorts of new characters, items, monsters, and mechanics, and secrets abound to delve into.
These amazingly creative taverns will stretch the bounds of fantasy and maybe give you a nice reminder of those wonderful, cozy days spent in a bar with some good friends.
The campaign is live on Kickstarter until March 6th, so check the links below to join in on the revelry.
Greetings, my name is Monty Martin.
And I'm Kelly McLaughlin, and we are the Dungeon Dudes.
Welcome to our channel where we cover everything Dungeons & Dragons, including advice for players and guides for dungeon masters.
We upload new videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so please subscribe to our channel so that you never miss an episode.
Today, we are looking at 5 teamwork-based spell combinations that you can use in your games of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. These are combos that involve 2 spells, but also require 2 characters working together to execute because both the spells involved in the combo require concentration.
They always say that 2 spells are better than 1, and with some careful planning, these spell combinations might win you the day and end a combat encounter. Also, none of the spells that we're looking at today are higher than 5th level, and they are available to a wide range of spellcasting characters in most campaigns. There's a lot to discuss today, so let's get rolling.
So the first combination that we're looking at today is a simple combo that we have nicknamed the Witch's Web. This cool combination involves 2 key spells. The first is the Warlock spell Hex.
The second spell in this combination is Web, which is available to sorcerers, wizards, and artificers. The key to this combination is that one of the underutilized aspects of the Hex spell is that it lets you debuff an ability check. And not a lot of spells in the game actually use ability checks. A lot of them require saving throws, which are not impacted by Hex. But a few key spells, like Web, require an ability check to get out of it. So by debuffing your target and using the right spell like Web, you can actually create this wonderful combination, making it much harder for your enemies to escape.
Yeah, enemies that are stuck in webs have to make a strength ability check to get out of it. So if you debuff their strength with Hex, it makes it very difficult to get out of those webs, now letting your warlock and the wizard or sorcerer work together to just blast the foe while they're stuck in the webs. This is a very low-level spell combination and a very effective one at keeping a foe at bay. A few ways that you can do a little bit better than this with this combo if you're using some different or higher-level spells, though. Spells like Bigby's Hand and Telekinesis also work on ability checks. So you can grab someone using either of these spells, hold them in a telekinetic or forceful grip, and keep them debuffed with Hex so they can't actually escape it.
For a little bit of added flavor, if you want, you can add Tasha's Mind Whip on top of all of this, which causes the target to have to choose between whether they're going to take an action, a bonus action, or a move action. So if they use their action to escape the web, they now can't move and are stuck back in the web again.
All in all, if you're dealing with an enemy that doesn't have ranged attacks or spellcasting, if they are just able to make melee attacks, this combination involving some pretty low-level spells completely shuts them down.
The next combination that we're looking at, we have dubbed Combat Glow Up. This is starting with the casting of Bless, which is available to paladins and clerics and allows you to add an additional D4 to your saving throws and attack rolls.
This is followed up by having your bard, druid, or artificer cast Fairy Fire on your enemies, which causes all those enemies to start glowing, and they grant advantage on attack rolls made against them. This combination results in a massive accuracy boost to your party's attack rolls, whether melee or ranged, that is going to last through the entire combat encounter as long as both your bard, druid, cleric, paladin, whoever maintain concentration. This improves your attacks so much that even if your foes have a very impressive AC, you're probably going to be landing the majority of those attacks, especially if you've got someone in your party that's taken sharpshooter or a great weapon master. You can really bring the pain.
Bless and Fairy Fire separately are 2 of my favorite buff or debuff spells in the game. And the ability to combine them together with the right combination of classes in Dungeons and Dragons is just going to amplify things even further.
You will end a combat encounter very, very quickly with this level of accuracy from your party, and your cleric and bard can basically just sit back and let the fighter, the rogue, and the ranger and the barbarian handle the entire combat encounter from here without really having to worry about too much else, because they're not going to miss much, and when your party isn't missing their key attacks, the enemies don't stay standing very long.
The next combination that we're looking at is one that we have dubbed the Righteous Stampede. It's a little bit more niche, but a potent combination of spells. It first starts with the casting of Conjure Animals. This third level spell available to druids and rangers allows you to summon up a bunch of beasts to fight for you.
And you're going to be using this to conjure up a lot of low challenge rating creatures, whatever they are, because now your paladin is going to cast Crusader's Mantle. This oft overlooked third level spell emits a 30-foot radius aura. This aura moves with the paladin, and until this spell ends, non-hostile creatures that are within the paladin's aura deal an extra 1d4 damage with their weapon attacks. So you're going to conjure up a whole bunch of elks who are going to do their basic elk damage, and now an extra 1d4 points of radiant damage, which puts a lot of extra damage on the board.
And if you want to turn this into a higher level spell combination, there is also the option of, instead of conjuring animals, using something like Animate Objects. And now all of your objects are also going to be doing an additional 1d4 damage.
And this is every time they attack. So you're bringing in a bunch of allies into the field and buffing up all their attacks with all that extra radiant damage. One of the things that's often quoted as a downside of spells like Conjure Animals and Animate Objects is that those objects don't have magical weapon attacks. And while Crusader's Mantle doesn't make their basic attacks magical, it does add d4 radiant damage now onto their attacks, which if you've got 10 animated daggers or 8 conjured elks, that's an extra 8d4, 10d4 damage every round that is coming down, and it really adds up fast, in addition to buffing all your other party members' attacks at the same time too.
The next spell combination that we have on our list is one that we have called the Playpen. There are many iterations of how to use this spell, but if you have 2 spellcasters in your party, one of which is either a warlock or wizard, you can cast Summon Greater Demon to get things started.
And then your ally is going to cast Wall of Force to trap the demon and the enemy together inside the Wall of Force. That enemy is now trapped in there with a demon, and they're going to have a very bad time while they're in there.
And in a pinch, if you don't have 2 spellcasters, you can also do this spell combination by simply casting the Wall of Force around your barbarian and the enemy. And chances are that as long as you tie them in a one-on-one combat, the barbarian is going to come out on top. This really also works for almost any summoned monster that you can bring up using spells. There's actually a lot of options here, but a lot of people don't realize that Wall of Force can work to trap the enemies in there with something that they don't want to be trapped in there with.
There's actually a lot of ways to upgrade this combination or to use it in different ways. The quintessential use of using Wall of Force and some sort of damaging area is a classic combo in general. Wall of Force and Cloud Kill, or Wall of Force and Sickening Radiance. But you can use it with much simpler effects as well, such as even just having your cleric use Spiritual Weapon. And now the enemy in there can't even attack that spiritual weapon back. I mean, this could even make a case for casting a spell like Mordenkainen's Sword or Black Blade of Disaster. Anything that just lets you have an effect inside the Wall of Force already once you bring the Wall of Force down that is going to slowly kill the enemy inside it. Well, they can't do anything to escape.
The last teamwork spell combination that we have to talk about today is one that we have dubbed Bad Advice. And this one is one of my favorites. It starts with the casting of Phantasmal Force, which is only a 2nd level spell available to many of the classes out there. And the first thing you're going to do is summon up something like a bridge over a dangerous gap, or something that makes a hazardous situation seem non-hazardous.
Yeah, you could also use a spell like Major Image to do something even more elaborate than what you can accomplish with Phantasmal Force, as long as you have some way of creating an illusion that makes an environment that is dangerous seem like it's not dangerous upon first inspection. Because then you're going to follow it up by using the suggestion spell to tell that hapless victim to walk across that bridge, the bridge that isn't actually there.
Suggestion has this little part in it that states that you cannot tell somebody to do something that they know is immediately harmful to them. But if you have the illusion already in place that the action that you're asking them to do doesn't seem harmful, there's nothing in the rules to say that they wouldn't do it then. So they see a bridge, you tell them to walk across the bridge, that's fine. There's nothing dangerous about that until they fall into the pit and die.
It's particularly insidious with Phantasmal Force because of the wording of Phantasmal Force that makes the subject believe that the phantasm is real, and they rationalize it. And they rationalize the oddity of something suddenly appearing there. Whereas with Major Image, you kind of have to set up the environment that way to begin with, because there's nothing about the illusion version of this combo that forces the target to believe or rationalize that that bridge just appeared out of nowhere. Whereas with Phantasmal Force, the wording of the spell says, well, they take that for granted that that exists in the world. So it's easier to convince them then with a suggestion, oh yeah, just go walk over that bridge.
In Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, a lot of people look at the concentration mechanic as kind of a hindrance, but really it does encourage teamwork, and a lot of these potent spell combinations are maybe too potent to be able to be pulled off by one person. But when you have two people at the table who can pull off one of these combinations, it is a triumph for the teamwork that is happening at the table during your game.
It creates a really satisfying situation when you can find those moments to use these spells together effectively. This is one of the biggest reasons why when you have more than one spellcaster in your party, if you have a pair of spellcasters or even a trio of spellcasters, it's really worth sitting down with your party members and looking at the spells that you've all selected and see if you can find these interesting combinations and ways to make them work together. Because often one or two spells used together intelligently are far greater than the sum of their parts, and often are much more impactful than what you can achieve on your own. So rather than looking for the best way to make the most out of your Wall of Force or Wall of Fire or Cloud Kill spells on your own character sheet, maybe have a look and see what your friends can do before.
So this has been a look at our teamwork-based spell combinations in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Tell us about some of your favorite spell combinations that require two casters or more in the comments below.
The videos that we create on our channel are made possible thanks to the incredible generosity of our Patreon supporters, many of whom helped us figure out some of these spell combinations in our Discord server, which is available exclusively to our patrons. We host a monthly writer's room discussion where we show a cool preview of the upcoming scripts for our episodes to our patrons and get their feedback and their assistance helping us develop these episodes. So a big thank you to all the patrons who participated in that writer's room discussion a few months ago to help us make this episode possible.
Also, our live play campaign, Dungeons of Drakkenheim, is coming to Kickstarter later this year as a module for 5th edition. We've partnered with Ghostfire Games to bring the Dungeons of Drakkenheim world to life. You can follow the links below to join the mailing list to get updates on when the Kickstarter is happening and all news involved in that. Also, don't forget to check out our live plays in the Worlds of Drakkenheim, which air Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/dungeon_dudes. You can find all the previous episodes right up over here.
And we have whipped up so much more, covering many awesome spells and spell combinations in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Find that all in the playlist right up over here.
Please subscribe to our channel so that you never miss an episode.
Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time in the dungeon.